And welcome back to Play Action Fantasy Football. This is Week 12. Jonathan here with you. We are going over our tight end start sits for the week, and we're going to jump into it. Now, I want to remind you guys before I get started, this is Monday that I'm recording this, so we're going to have to see how some of these injuries play out, and we're going to start with that. We got our 12:30 game Thanksgiving Day on Thursday. There's 3 games, as you know, coming up on Thursday. So for the first one is the Packers at the Lions. Looking at their tight ends, Musgrave, he's going to be questionable again today. He came out with a abdominal injury in practice, so we'll see. You got to keep an eye on that and see how it plays out. But I do think he's going to be a cautionary start this week, meaning if you have Mark Andrews or one of the other tight ends that got hurt, you definitely can put Musgrave in there. He's not going to be a bad choice against the Lions. These divisional games, they can go either way, especially a Thanksgiving Day one. I think Musgrave is definitely a good choice if he's playing. Now, on the other hand, if DeGore is playing for him, then you definitely don't want to be playing DeGore. You could forget about that. Now, as far as the Lions go, Sam Laporta, you got to start him. The Packers have been struggling, and that includes their defense, so Sam Laporta is going to have a very good day. Now, Montgomery and Gibbs, they've been playing amazing, taking a little bit off Laporta lately. However, it won't matter. Sam Laporta, he's there in the red zone. He's there in every aspect, so he's definitely going to be getting passes. Next up, we got our 4:30 game on Thursday, the Commanders and Cowboys. Logan Thomas, Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson will start with. He's going to be a start for the boys. He's been playing great. Dak Prescott, he's been playing okay. And he's been finding Jake Ferguson, though, quite a bit. And the Commanders' defense, they do give up quite a bit to tight ends. So it's going to be a good game for Ferguson. I like the matchup at home for him. Going to be a good matchup for him. Thomas, though, I'm going to have to start him against the Cowboys' good defense. And the reason I'm doing that, I like the way this offense is starting to flow. They got Brian Robinson more active in there. Logan Thomas, he's been very consistent all year, I'll say that. No matter what team he's going against, he's got a very high floor. His ceiling isn't as crazy. It's not like Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, nothing that crazy, but he does have a very high floor, so I like him in your lineup. And then we got our 8:20 game for Thursday. 49ers and Seahawks, great divisional matchup. These tight ends is going to be a very simple one. George Kittle, you want to start. Brock Purdy's been throwing the ball great against a bad Seahawks defense. It's definitely a great matchup for Kittle. And Noah Fant for the Seahawks, he's going to have to be a sit. He hasn't really been doing much. DK Metcalf, Lockett, and Walker have really been the passing target. So Fant really is not a part of that. He's going to have to be a sit. Friday, we got a game on Friday. I don't know if I've ever seen one of these before, but it's going to be Friday at 3 p.m. We have the Dolphins at the Jets. It's going to be a good game, good matchup. But as far as the tight ends go, it's not going to be a very good matchup for either of them. Smythe and Conklin, I don't know if I've ever started either of these guys, and I'm not going to start doing it this week. You definitely want to sit both of them. Neither of them are used in the offenses, and I'll leave that at that. Finally, onto our Sunday games. We got 1 o'clock, Buccaneers at the Colts. Cade Otton, Kylan Granson. Otton is going to be a start this week for the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield's been finding him quite a bit. He's a very consistent tight end, that's for sure. And the Colts defense is not very good. I think it's a great matchup for him, and he's going to continue his consistency, and he might even build onto it a little bit. So look for him to get 4, 5, 6 catches and put up at least 60 yards. That's what I would say. So he's going to be a start for sure. Definitely get him in your lineup. Kylan Granson, on the other hand, is going to have to be sitting. I don't see how anybody would want him in there. I'm not going to cover that too much. Just know that he's not a viable option in any means. Next up, we got the Patriots at the Giants. Hunter Henry, Daniel Bellinger. They're both going to be sits this week. Hunter Henry and this offense, the quarterbacks, Mac Jones, not performing like he really should be, and so this is not a good option for Hunter Henry this week. I know the Giants' defense is not very good. However, the Patriots will be running the ball quite a bit, so Hunter Henry's definitely a sit, and that's going to be the same thing with Bellinger. I mean, if they do throw it, it's not going to be his way. He might get 2, 3 targets, but he's not going to get more than 1 or 2 catches. Definitely don't want him in your lineup. Next up, we got the Steelers at the Bengals. Pat Freiermuth is back, and we got Irv Smith for the Bengals. Irv Smith, don't need to spend too much time on that, especially with Joe Burrow out. They have a lot of other weapons they like. Smith has never been one of them, so he's going to be a sit for me this week. And Freiermuth, he's going to be a cautionary start. He's coming off that injury. He played last week against the Browns, had 1 catch for 1 reception, and they really just weren't targeting him much at all. And that offense was really at a standstill. They weren't scoring, weren't getting much yards at all. I think Kenny Pickett had less than 130 passing yards, and the only upside was Jaylen Warren having a couple big runs. So Freiermuth, though, this week against the Bengals, it's a rivalry matchup. Definitely a matchup where they like to use tight ends. So Freiermuth is going to be cautionary. I think you guys should put him in there if you have to, but there's definitely a lot of better options out there. So just be aware of that. Next up, we got the Panthers at the Titans. For the Panthers, it's not looking good, and neither is it for the Titans as far as their tight ends go. Hayden Hurst and Tommy Tremble for the Panthers, because Hayden Hurst is questionable. He dealt with a concussion from a couple weeks ago. He did not play last week, and this is Monday. We don't have an update on him, but we will see how the rest of the week goes and see if he's going to be playing. Either way, it's going to be him or Tommy Tremble, and they're both going to be sits. I think I don't see this offense flowing enough where they're going to be getting those tight ends heavily involved. Tommy Tremble had 1 or 2 catches and 1 touchdown last week, so he showed off some skill, but I don't think it's really enough for me to put him in my lineup, and that's for sure. And then same thing with the Titans. We got Okonkwo. He's going to be a sit against the Panthers, and I just don't see Will Levis finding him very much. His numbers have been looking very low, and not somebody you want starting in your lineup. Next up, we got the Jaguars at the Texans. Evan Ingram, Dalton Schultz. Evan Ingram is going to be a start against the Texans, and the Schultz is going to be a start against the Jaguars. These are 2 top-tier running backs. Two top-tier tight ends, and they're definitely going to be putting up points this week as both the defenses are weaker, and they don't have both the offenses. I shouldn't say both the offenses. Schultz, and at the Texans, they don't have a lot of viable receivers, so Schultz is definitely that guy for them, so that's why he's a start. And Evan Ingram, they do have a lot of weapons there in Jacksonville. However, Ingram is definitely a red zone guy, a guy who can get in the end zone, and a very reliable guy. So look for Trevor Lawrence to be finding him quite a bit against the struggling Texans D, and definitely want him in your lineup. The last 1 o'clock game we're looking at is the Saints at the Falcons. Taysom Hill, Kyle Pitts. Taysom Hill is definitely going to be a start for me this week. I know they started to not use him quite as much at quarterback, where he's running the ball and throwing the ball as much, getting quite as much fantasy points as he can possibly get, because they got Jameis Winston at quarterback now. They're just really not giving Taysom Hill that option. However, they're still using him at tight end, still running a little bit him with the ball, so he's going to be a start against the Falcons defense, which are good, but they're not going to be good enough to slow down his numbers in fantasy. So Taysom Hill, definitely want him in your lineup. Kyle Pitts, he's going to be a cautionary start, and I say cautionary as you probably don't want him in your lineup, but if you have to choose a tight end and he's your only open option, I would not feel uncomfortable doing it. The Saints do have a good defense, but this is definitely another one of those rivalry games where Kyle Pitts certainly can come up this game and have a good one, as Desmond Ridder is kind of trying to build his resume up. Going to our 4 o'clock games, we got the Rams at Cardinals. Tyler Higbee, Trey McBride. Tyler Higbee's going to be a sit for me. Started off very good this year, but since Cooper Kupp came back, Nakua's been doing good. Higbee just hasn't been putting up numbers. And with Kyron Williams back, it's going to be even harder for that. So Higbee's definitely a sit this week against a struggling Cardinals D. And Trey McBride for the Cardinals, he is going to be a start. I've been starting him since Ertz got hurt, and now that Kyler Murray's back, it's only even better for him. Now, this isn't the perfect matchup against the Rams, so I don't expect Trey McBride to have his best game of the season. I definitely don't think that's happening, but I do think he's going to put up a solid 12, 15 points at least. So definitely want Trey McBride in your lineup. He's going to be a start. Next up, we got the Browns at the Broncos. Tight ends David Njoku, Adam Troutman. Adam Troutman, I'm not going to talk much about. This Broncos offense is coming to a standstill. Troutman's going to be a sit. He doesn't produce much at all. Njoku, he's going to be a start for the Browns. He's been having an up and down kind of year, and a lot of it comes down to a lot of the quarterback play and then also him catching the ball. And I keep preaching this because he's having some issues grabbing the ball, but once he gets the ball, he does great things with it. His yards after his catch are phenomenal. So I think he's going to start to get that down. They have DTR and Dorian Thompson-Robinson there at quarterback instead of Deshaun Watson now that he's out for the year. So I do think they're building that relationship they need to, and Chief Njoku's definitely going to be a start. You want him in your lineup this week. Next up, we got the Bills at the Eagles. Tight ends Kincaid, and for the Eagles, it is most likely going to be Jack Stahl. Now, for Jack Stahl, he's playing in for Dallas Goedert being hurt, and I definitely don't think Stahl's going to be a big part of this offense. Definitely want to sit him. And obviously, Kincaid, a phenomenal rookie playing for the Bills, got Josh Allen whipping him the ball. So definitely you want Kincaid playing, and I'm not going to cover that one too much. Next up, we have the Chiefs at the Raiders. Travis Kelce, Michael Mayer. Travis Kelce obviously is a start. Again, we do not know yet if Taylor Swift will be there. We'll see how that goes. Raiders, Michael Mayer. He's going to be a sit though. I don't see against Chiefs. Chiefs have a good defense. Mayer's been getting very mediocre points fantasy wise. He hasn't been a bad tight end, but nothing that you really pops your eye open or makes you want to put him in there or makes you think that he's going to do any better. So definitely going to be a sit for Mayer. Sunday night, 8 o'clock game, we have the Ravens at the Chargers. Mark Andrews is out and hurt, so Isaiah Likely will be in there. And then for the Chargers, Everett's dealing with the injury. He's questionable as he's dealing with a chest injury. So again, this is Monday. Keep an eye on his injury status. But either way, I'm not going to want to start Everett or Parham, who's going to be playing if Everett doesn't. So either of the two, definitely sit them against the Ravens. The Ravens have a very good defense. And Isaiah Likely, he's going to be a cautionary start. You might want to put him in there. This is going to be a hit or miss kind of week. The Chargers don't have the best defense, and Lamar Jackson certainly might start using Isaiah Likely. He was drafted last year by the Ravens, and it definitely could be one of those step-up games for him, as he's going to have to start stepping up in this offense throughout the next few weeks with Mark Andrews gone. So Isaiah Likely, a good cautionary start. Don't be too scared to throw him in there. Monday, last game, we got our 8 o'clock game, Bears and Vikings. Another good NFC North rivalry. We have Cole Kmet, TJ Hawkinson, two very good tight ends. Hawkinson, I had him number 1 in our rankings. I think he's going to score the most points out of all tight ends this weekend. Definitely want Hawkinson in the lineup against the Bears. And Cole Kmet against the Vikings. Definitely start him. Justin Fields has been finding him so much. He's been their number 1 receiver. It's just hard not to get him in your lineup. So definitely start Cole Kmet, TJ Hawkinson, and that will be that. And speaking of that will be that, this is the end of our Week 12 tight end start sits. I hope you guys enjoyed. Go like and subscribe, and have a great weekend.